My name is Ashley Rose Young, and I'm an American History Curator in the Rare Book Division here at the Library of Congress. I'm going to take about 8 or 9 minutes to talk about today's theme and also highlight some of the beautiful objects that we have in our collection and that will be on display just across the way there after the conclusion of this session. Now, before I get into all that fun detail, I do want to thank Friends of the Library of Congress for believing in our symposium and providing the funds necessary to bring this amazing programming to you. I also want to thank my team who is out there, Patrick, I see you, but also Stephanie, and Mariana, as well as 20 plus other team members here at the Library of Congress who have worked for months and months and months to bring you today's programming. You rock. That's all I have to say. So this talk today is all about adventuring in nature. And I feel like adventure isn't only about exploring landscapes and getting to the summit. I think it's also about learning to pay attention to uncertainty, to silence, to scale, and to our own smallness in this vast landscape that surrounds us. And thus, I get my clicker going. When we first started planning this symposium and hunting for a day to host it, we pitched May 14, and we were pretty intrigued to find out that on this day in 1804, Lewis and Clark began their expedition, traveling upstream on the Missouri River to explore the newly acquired territory of Louisiana. And just an hour ago, we had the great joy of hearing some wonderful music that was inspired by American folk traditions. And talking about Lewis and Clark on the Missouri had me thinking about a folk song that I deeply associate with American nature and also with longing, and that is Shenandoah. I'm going to sing a little bit for you right now. Bear with me. Oh, Shenandoah, I long to see you and hear your rolling river. Oh, Shenandoah, I long to see you. We're bound away across the wide Missouri. My choir friends are in the front row. Hey guys. Had a little frog there, but we got it out eventually. American nature is so often tied to yearning, right? To this desire to return home or to discover something new or understand our place within an immense landscape. I live in DC, but I grew up in Western Pennsylvania in the Appalachian Mountains, and yes, we say Appalachian there. I'm not that far away, but I feel like there's always a part of me that longs for home, for those ancient mountains that are weathered and worn and softened by time. I'm a mountain person, simple as that. And I think many of us actually carry landscapes within us from a young age, places that shape our sense of wonder, freedom, identity, long before we even have a language for it. Growing up in the Appalachian Mountains, those mountains were witness to my very first quote-unquote adventures, taking nature walks, playing hide and seek, building forts, and skiing every weekend with my family at Hidden Valley, which is our local resort. My entire family learned to ski there. Me, my brothers, my cousins, and now the next generation, my nephews and my niece. And it's just a really special place for us. And in fact, it was really awesome not too long ago. And in fact, this ski season, I had a chance to ski with my colleague Patrick on my home resort. And that was like a really cool moment to bring the library, a little bit of the library back home. That being said, the Rockies are pretty sweet. Out west at the summit, the views are just stunning. You see these ghostly and gorgeous mountains in the distance, and you just lose your breath. It's a moment that certain kinds of nature can bring to you, and for me, it's mountainscapes like this. It's in these moments that I really come to appreciate great writers like Walt Whitman and what they've said about American nature, and also how contemporary artists continue to reimagine those words in new forms. Take Mark McMurray's book. Its form mimics the peaks of the Rocky Mountains, layering cream, red, blue, and black torn paper. Let me get the right slide up there. Blue and black torn paper strips. And if you look at this, it's in an accordion-style binding that makes the book stretch apart just like the Rockies themselves. And then Mark goes in and he nestles Whitman's writing in the heart of those mountains. Spirit that formed this scene, these tumbled rock piles grim and red, these reckless, heaven-ambitious peaks, these gorges, turbulent, clear streams, this naked freshness, these formless wild arrays for reasons of their own, I know thee, savage spirit, we have communed together. When I saw this book, I was just so moved by its structure and the coming together of text and imagery, and I was like, I have to include this in the display that's happening next. But this display was not by any means a solo endeavor. My colleagues were essential to what you're going to be seeing through those doors after this program. And I think now of Stephanie Stillo, our chief, and Callie Beatty, who both nominated Lindsay Schmidl's The Printed Walk. Within mere moments of opening this book, I immediately understood why they were drawn to it. It is a force of nature because its author is a force of nature. For the project, Lindsay thru-hiked the entire Appalachian Trail, 2,190 miles across 14 states. She committed to a true adventure, complete with long stretches of silence, boredom, found friends, a near-death experience, and immeasurable gratitude for nature itself. Lindsay's adventurous spirit is echoed in the essays, poetry, and photography of Mountain Gazette. Her deep thinking about materiality and her commitment to print traditions echo those of our guest speaker, Mike Rogge, who is a longtime journalist and the editor and owner of Mountain Gazette. My colleague Patrick first brought Mike's work to our attention, sharing that he, Patrick, was a subscriber to a large-scale print magazine that celebrated mountain life and rejected a world increasingly dominated by smartphones and digital publications. Mountain Gazette, Patrick explained, stood for something else entirely. In a culture increasingly built on speed and distraction and disposability, Mountain Gazette insists on slowness, immersion, and mindfulness, values that are also defining our engagement with nature itself. This magazine, like so many of the books in our collection, illustrates how people engage the natural world around them, but also their efforts to capture those experiences in print, carrying mountains, rivers, trails, and journeys into forms that can be held in our very hands. Mike, welcome. The stage is yours.
This is my visual aid. Thomas Jefferson's books are over there. This is my son's favorite book. It's called Dogman. Let's talk about Dogman, right? So my wife is not here because she's the vice president of Mountain Gazette and did the most vice president of Mountain Gazette thing you could do in January, which is she blew her ACL to smithereens on a pow day. But Elliot, my older son, has his first public speaking engagement tomorrow as declamation, and it's on Dogman. So if you guys can forgive me for a minute, I'm fortunate enough to ski with some pretty incredible people, and my kids do not think that is cool at all. But given the opportunity I have right here at the Library of Congress, and a microphone, and a crowd, I'm wondering if you guys could do something that you're not supposed to do in a library, which is make a little bit of noise. So if you could, on the count of 3, if you could just say good luck to my son Elliot, because he's going to be talking about Dogman tomorrow. I promise I will talk about Jeremy Jones and Jim Morrison and Shane McConkey and all this stuff, the reason why you guys are here. But I'm going to press record, and on the count of 3, Library of Congress, as loud as you can you say good luck Elliot? 1, 2, 3. Cool, now just give me a second, I'm going to text this mom. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so if you notice, I do not have visual aids up here, and I wrote my notes on a notebook. I do have a phone, I do have an iPad, we do make this on computers. I have done this a few times actually at colleges, at universities, and I really dislike talking at people. I like talking with people. So if you have questions, I want more questions. I want to talk with you. I can't believe I'm at the Library of Congress. I once paid an artist to make a cartoon of the CEO of Vail Resorts wearing a money chain, smoking a $100 bill. And they have one of Galileo's first books here. If you look around, you can notice the Library of Congress people are like, God, it's okay, guys, you didn't make a mistake. So look, I'm Mike. I'm Mike Rogge. I'm the editor and owner of Mountain Gazette. We have no investment other than the $5,000 that I put in the magazine when I bought it at a bar in Denver at 8 in the morning. The previous owner of Mountain Gazette wanted me at a bar. I feel like if I ever sell it, I have to do the same thing. But if you can't tell by my flannel shirt, I work in the outdoor industry. And if you can't tell by my Birkenstocks, I like the music of the Grateful Dead. And this is my first time in Washington, D.C. I've never been here. From upstate New York, we went to Montreal quite a bit as a family when I was younger. Man, the museums you have here are incredible. This building is incredible. And I gotta say, the one thing that I love that I've been taking away from everywhere I've been the last few days is that a great nation does not just show its successes. There are a lot of museums here dedicated to its failures and its faults and its mistakes so that others can learn from it. And that's why Mountain Gazette works, because one of the things that we do is we learn vicariously from others. We are not going to make the mistakes that other magazines have made. And the number one thing I would say that we do that sets us apart, the secret sauce, if you all want to start a magazine, and I can't believe I'm going to say this in the Library of Congress, you have to give a shit. You have to care. You have to respect your readers and know that they are above anything else. People over profit. That is why Mountain Gazette is successful. That's why you guys all subscribe to a magazine that comes twice a year and showed up here to see me talk. So thank you. So I want to go back and I want to tell you the story of Mountain Gazette. I'm 40 years old. Mountain Gazette is 60 this year, which is very cool. It is exactly 1 year younger than my beloved Grateful Dead and Saturday Night Live. Mountain Gazette was founded in an act of rebellion in the 60s. In 1966, an editor named Mike Moore, originally from Vermont, founded a magazine that he wanted to call Skier's Gazette. He thought that ski racing and skiing were too just this is how you ski, this is how you do it, this is how you do it. And they're like, well, we just like going in the mountains and having fun. And through that counterculture of the 60s, Skier's Gazette was born. And then in a splash of brilliance, they changed the name to Mountain Gazette with the integrity of finding more ad partners. But from 1972 to 1979, Mountain Gazette featured firsthand accounts of going up Everest. And for the first time, it wasn't about the American conquering the mountain, but it was about going up there and having doubts, wondering, can I do this? Is this going to work out? What's my family going to think? I have kids. Is this responsible? Those were things people were not writing about in other magazines. I want to be clear that Outside magazine was started in the 70s, but it was much after Mountain Gazette, and in the foreword to our book, they actually admitted they ripped off the idea for Outside from Mountain Gazette. Wouldn't be a Mountain Gazette speech if we didn't take a little dig at the big guy. So in 1979, Mountain Gazette did shut its doors, because the thing is, this has always been a literary effort with really bad business models. If you're wondering why magazines fail, why media fails, take any business in the world and give it away for free and tell me how long you'll be in business. That's why publications fail quite a bit. They give too much away for free, or they rely too much on advertising. Then Mountain Gazette did what I think arguably is the most countercultural thing you could ever do as a business. They took the 80s and 90s off. Nothing. No Reagan, no Clinton, and it was in a basement, it was gone. But in the 90s, an editor named John Fahey had a friend, and to this day, we do not know who this friend is, but this friend, whoever you are, if you're out there watching this, you're responsible for me being here. He slipped a couple old issues of the 70s Mountain Gazette under John Fahey's dorm room door, and he fell in love with the counterculture, with something, and it turned out in the 2000s, that's exactly what we needed. This was like the height of outdoor magazines. You couldn't just have one ski magazine. You had like a street skiing magazine, a backcountry magazine, blah, 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 blah. And naturally, those magazines are all dead now. A little bit like dinosaurs. But in 2020, Fahey brought it back, and what he started doing was talking about mountain culture. And the first thing he did, again, bad at business, but like funny, was he took money from Colorado Tourism Board. Colorado said, "You're back, we loved Mountain Gazette, that was our magazine. Here's a pile of money. Can you make a thing about scenic highways in Colorado?" And Mr. Fahey did that, but all the photos that he featured had roadkill on them. The state didn't like that too much, but they gave him another chance. And so they asked to write about the top 10 mountain towns in Colorado, and they promptly on the cover put the top 10 towns to get your ass kicked in Colorado. If you can't tell by the Birkenstocks and the way I'm talking and a little bit of swearing, is that like we have always been a counterculture magazine, but I think if anything, we are the voice for the people that don't have the biggest voices in outdoor. Mountain Gazette did die in 2012 again. From 2020 to 2012, I mean, I could ask by show of hands, how many of you owned Mountain Gazette during that time? I think it was bought and sell. About every month I get an email from someone that says, "I used to own Mountain Gazette." It was just that thing. We just had to keep it going, had to keep the car on the road. And that's when I became aware of Mountain Gazette. In 2012, as Mountain Gazette was dying, one of their editors had written a book called The God of Skiing. His name's Peter Cray. He's a very good friend of mine, he's a mentor. And The God of Skiing this book was really important to me. It's sort of what A River Runs Through It is to fly fishing. It was a little bit about skiing, but it takes place in 90s Jackson Hole. And it was about like people coming together to like really build something. And I don't mean like a lift or like a restaurant or anything. It was like building a culture and celebrating a culture. And the one thing I've known growing up in the Adirondacks, living in Vermont, living in Tahoe, is that mountain culture is a very real thing. And it doesn't mean you wear Patagonia or whatever. What it means is that like the mountains live inside you, whether you're in the mountains or you're not. You're here in DC. So Peter talked about Mountain Gazette like it was this like, should have been there. You missed it, which is very classic in mountain towns. We've all missed the golden era of mountain towns. Just talk to anyone who lives there. But I actually think I'm living in it right now, so in 5 years I'll tell you, you missed it. But he kept coming back to me, and I realized that having watched a couple media companies that I loved, like Powder, I worked for Vice magazine for a little while before they had an HBO show. These magazines were just dying, and it was just they didn't care about the reader. They were too reliant on the sponsored content, or let's do a video project and throw more logos in the beginning, and you don't even really know what the movie's about because the first 4 minutes were just advertisements for company. I just like didn't get it. That's not why we go outside to sell gear, which is very funny. I like making fun of people whose businesses are based around gear. My good friend Jonathan Ellsworth from Blister came out from Colorado to visit, and he's all about gear. The guy will write 12,000 words about a binding. but I love them for it. So in 2020, I decided 2019 actually, I decided I was gonna get myself in the ring, right? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna be the change I want to see, right? We all have heard that here in DC before. And I thought, why not give it a shot? So when I was on the Aleutian Chain in Alaska, I was filming a documentary with the guys from Deadliest Catch. And I was paying $38 a day for internet so I could talk to my wife and our young son. I got a call from Peter and from our now managing editor, Doug Schitzbahn, and he said, Mountain Gazette's for sale. Okay. So I used that $38 internet connection. I FaceTimed audio a guy named Blake who had owned Mountain Gazette and was really frankly tired of paying the storage fees for it. So over 6 months, we talked about what Mountain Gazette was, why he bought it, why he wanted it to come back, what it meant to people. And this is something that happens to me. I fall in love very easily with things, with projects, with passion, with ideas. It is literally why my wife and I have been together for 12 years. I fell in love with her instantly. She had a really cute dog, and she liked to ski, so it was pretty easy. Oh, see ya. Don't worry, we'll get Dogman later. Oh, thanks, man. One thing, if you read the books, Dogman doesn't die, so that's good. Good, Dad. It's my mom and dad. It's funny, I'm 40 years old. I just asked my parents to hold my stuffed animal. So, Blake and I had never met. We decided to go to the Outdoor Retailer show in Denver. We meet up, and he's like, hey, nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. And he told me he wanted $50,000 for Mountain Gazette. And I do not have $50,000, and I could not do it by myself. I'd saved $5,000 for this specific thing. So I wrote a personal check. I put it in an envelope, and I met him the next morning for what he said was breakfast, but they did not serve breakfast there. They served Coors Banquet beer. And sitting across from Blake, I said, look, man, this is all I have. This is it. I promise if you sell this to me, I'll do everything we've talked about the last 6 months. And Blake cracked open the envelope, and he said, if the check clears, it's yours. And that was it. I was the proud owner of a dead magazine. But I want to go back to my sweet, poor wife. Because this was in January of 2020. I had a magazine. What on earth could ever go wrong? Nothing. Nothing could go wrong. Oops. So in the middle of March, as the NBA and the world were shutting down and COVID became very real, my poor wife had the second worst thing that can happen during a pandemic. 50 to 60 boxes of old magazines showed up at our front door, and really big ones. Now, at the time, my wife worked in hotels, and I traveled making short-form documentaries, so our jobs were toast, dude. We were just, thank God for Megan, because she's crafty. She found a way to find traveling nurses and get them booked into hotels, move them around, so that saved us. And I took care of our son, Elliot. Harrison wasn't born yet, and we started reading these old magazines. And I started finding things that were incredible, like an ad from the Sierra Club, 1969. It said, Alaska, save it or sell it back to the Russians. Okay. I saw a thing in there. Really, the first forum in magazine history is the editors, letters to the editor. And in the letters to the editor, it's a young punk rock climbing guy with a super weird French name was complaining about how Mountain Gazette only covered climbing in Colorado, and that Yvon Chouinard, the writer, wanted us to start covering what was happening in Camp 4. He, of course, is the founder of Patagonia, but at that time, he was just another writer who thought he knew better than an editor, which is why Mountain Gazette's still alive, because all of our readers know better than us. A guy named Doug Tompkins, actually, I found an invite in one of these where he invited the owner of Mountain Gazette to, this is in 1966, this is from Skier's Gazette, you should come down to the opening of my store in Berkeley, California. Don't worry, the Hells Angels are there for security, and we hired a local band called the Grateful Dead to play there. And Doug Tompkins invited Mike Moore to the opening of the North Face. We celebrate our 60th anniversary with the North Face this year. What I found was that this was not where these brands advertised. They certainly didn't give money to Mountain Gazette, but it's what they read. It's where they found the core of these communities. And so I kept reading, and then finally on July 1st of 2020, we launched mountaingazette.com. We came back, and I was so ready for months. I was like, the floodgates are gonna open, we're gonna crush it. And we got 2 subscribers that day. And so I had 2 people to make the magazine for. And that was Chris Denny, who's a PR person for Atomic, and Dan Abrams from Philo. So we didn't have 2 readers, I had 2 friends who pitied me. And so what we did, though, over the years is we've built this one subscriber at a time. There's no fast way to gaining people's trust. You're either going to get it or you're not. Now I want to fast forward because it's more fun. I'm speaking at the Library of Congress as the owner of one of the largest independent magazines in North America, one of the largest independent magazines in the world. And next week, I'm going to New York because little old Mountain Gazette, this big, goofy magazine that I've been making fun of, we're going up against New York Magazine, The New Yorker, Harper's, Texas Monthly, and The Atlantic in the Feature of the Year category. We're pretty excited about that. And what I liked even more is in the press release, there was hyperlinks to read every single article that was nominated for Feature of the Year, except ours, because we're print only. There's never been a better place in the world to say the words print ain't dead than the Library of Congress. This is a living embodiment of that fact, you know? But I'm going to be honest with you, like, our success is that we make mistakes, and we make them in public, which is why I am, again, so inspired by DC, because there are a lot of monuments here to mistakes that America has made and that we have overcome. It sounds like there's some more monuments going up to mistakes we're being made, but calm yourselves. Here's why print only works. 2026, right? This is crazy. We all wear technology, some in our glasses, watches, all in our pocket. This is a very simple model. You give us money to subscribe to our magazine. I take that money and I give it to the best writers and photographers and artists in the world. And I tell them to go do absolutely crazy stuff. So in a way, what it does is, rather than making it like a customer and business relationship, our readers are frankly patrons of the arts. And I wanted to show you guys something. It was really cool. I wanted to show you why Mountain Gazette works, and I'm going to use one more visual aid. So a good buddy of mine from Tahoe, his name's Jim Morrison. And Jim skied down Everest's hardest route. And he's writing this story for us in the fall. And I just wanted to show you guys, like, isn't that cool? Look how awesome it looks to ski down Everest. Isn't that awesome? So I didn't like that. So that's why we made the magazine 11 by 17, so that when you hold it, you can actually see something. Because I know none of you saw Jim on that picture. You can't. It's too big of a mountain. It's too small of a person. The other reason why 11 by 17 is nice is you can fit about 1,200 words comfortably on there. And I'm sorry, but anyone that's ever done anything of consequence, and I don't mean dangerous, I mean anything that changed your life by going outside, it deserves more than 200 words and a URL and a phone number for where you're supposed to go. That is not how we experience the outdoors. The word recreate literally means recreate. It's godly. It means about going out and finding yourself again. Why on earth would you trust Instagram for that? Ever. Continued in the comments. Oh, cool. This is going to be a good one. We would rather put those stories to work and let them go. We have published stories that are 500 to 600 words long, that are short, that are nice, that are punchy. And we have published stories that are 36,000 words long. They're novellas. And, because I was a New Yorker subscriber, we're twice a year. Because as we all know, the New Yorker publishes amazing stuff, but it comes every week, and it makes you feel terrible because you don't read enough. And I want you to know that when I meet Dave Remnick next week, I promise I'm going to tell him that. I said that to you at the Library of Congress, and we'll see how that all goes. So I say this all the time, we're the best contributors in the world, because I have to convince them in a digital age when their voice, their name being out there is how they get more work, that I'm not going to give them a PDF of their work. But what they find is that our readers, because we've encouraged them to do this, and they're the best readers on the planet, they go out and they find Emily Liebert in New York Magazine. They find Ari Schneider in ProPublica. They find our writers and readers. They find Steve Martin on Only Murders in the Building. So thanks for supporting Steve, by the way, guys. He needs it. So I did want to tell this one story. So like our first couple years, we did not have big budgets because we didn't have a huge amount of subscribers. Our budgets are really big now. And what we've done is we proportionally increase those budgets. We pay our writers more. We always want to pay better than the other people. We are competitive in this way. We want the best stories in Mountain Gazette. So in that process, I'm from Northern California. There's been a story for a long time that's been rumbling there about the elk herds that are there in the farms. And it has been written about in these small snippets, right? Like SF Gate says this, San Francisco Chronicle says that, blah, blah, blah. And no one ever got the complete story. So we sent Charlie Wiesel, who writes for The Atlantic, and Chloe Weir, who's a photographer. We sent them to Point Reyes for about 20 days, and they spent a lot of time there. And what I loved was I was hearing from the farmers, hey, you really got this right. And we were hearing from the elk herd advocates, you really got this right. And I think a lot of people are either super mad about what we published because we got it completely right. We didn't take a side, and it was that's the promise of journalism, right? It's to be that fourth branch of government almost and really show people what's happening. So in the process, though, of this piece coming together, Chloe's father passed away, Bob Weir from Grateful Dead. And she asked, could I write a tribute to my dad in the magazine? It's really incredible that she wanted to do that. And so we gave it, I think, 10 pages. And the last photo that she sent to me was one of Bob walking in his backyard barefoot, something he did every day called the barefoot meditation. And I said to Chloe, Chloe, I think your story is going viral because we have people on Instagram tagging their barefoot walks in the woods as a tribute to the late Bob Weir. I love that. I just thought that was such a cool thing that our readers were able to give a daughter. And even if you don't like the Grateful Dead, this story was not about the Grateful Dead. It was about a daughter paying tribute to her larger-than-life father. And that is what we are trying to do at Mountain Gazette, because I think everyone walks out their front door, everyone goes outside, and even though Jim is rad for going up Everest, I think Chloe's rad for showing her dad walking barefoot and his connection to nature in that way. And that's how we expand the pool. That's how we get a more diverse audience, is we meet people where they are when they're outside. So Ari Schneider is another incredible writer of ours. Something our readers allowed us to do was we sent Ari to Europe for 6 weeks to go uncover the truth about his family's Holocaust survival story. Ari was just nominated for the Livingston Award, which is known as the Young Pulitzer. And for this story, it's 36,000 words. And what I got was a lot of our readers who are Jewish or not Jewish, I'm not Jewish, but sending me a message saying, man, it's so refreshing to read a Holocaust story with an outdoor lens. And thank you, you've seen me. We had some people that were like, why would you publish it? What I like is that we have no room to lie because print's too expensive. We can't do clickbaity headlines. We can't do any of that stuff. And so you're probably wondering, it's okay, Aunt Jo, I don't mind. So you're probably wondering, why would we do this? What was the thing about Ari that was the most relatable? So Ari spent these 6 weeks trying to find out his family's Holocaust story. And as he's about to step out of the car and go see the tombs of his relatives that died in the Holocaust, he stepped in dog shit. And isn't that how the outdoors treats us sometimes? It really doesn't care. And something that I go back to, something that we say in the mountains when someone dies, that the mountains don't care. And I agree. But Mountain Gazette does care. And we are the ones that want to put meaning to these spaces. I'll end with like Chloe did this really heavy piece about her dad, and Ari did this really heavy piece. In the fall issue, I sent them on another really heavy piece. I sent them both to go find Bigfoot in the Pacific Northwest. And that's going to run 14,000 words, so you guys can find that there. I'm close on time. Patrick gave me the wave, and I want to save room for questions. But I do want to say something to all of you. Like, if you're a Mountain Gazette subscriber, I don't need you to raise your hand, because if you don't raise your hand, I'm going to ask you what you're doing. I am only here. My family is only able to do this. We're only able to do this because of our readers. We do not have any private equity money. We have no investment. Our investment comes from our readers. And I think that is the relationship that print offers you that digital cannot. And I'm so incredibly grateful to Patrick, to Ashley, to everyone here who invited me to do this. This is incredible. Like I said, I can give you so many examples of times we have published things that probably don't belong in the Library of Congress. But thank you for having me, and I would love to open it up to questions. I appreciate you guys giving me this time to chat. So thanks. It's definitely a Mountain Gazette reader. Any questions? Yeah, sure.
Thank you. I broke the first rule of the Library of Congress. So I was influenced very hard to subscribe to Mountain Gazette. So your ads are working.
Thanks.
And I just wanted to know, I am stuck in the middle of New York City, far away from the outdoors, but I'm a part-time Western horse girl woman, and I feel like that's why Mountain Gazette was pushed on me. And then I did my Reddit rabbit hole, and everyone loved it. And I said, you know what? I've spent $90 on bad meals in New York City. I can do it for two print issues a year and love it. And I do love it. And I thank you so much for being here. But I'm wondering if you have any metrics, and I hate even using that word,
Sure.
on sort of the demographics of readers who are like me, who don't get to the outdoors as much, who don't ski at all, and who will, quite honestly, never ski in their lives. I'm too afraid.
It's all good.
But because I see this resurgence of the love for the outdoors and people wanting to sort of reconnect with nature, even if they're in urban environments, sort of on your end, if you're hearing from readers who are like, I'm stuck in such and such a place, but Mountain Gazette gives me that window to the outdoors.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, pure numbers. There's more skiers in the 5 boroughs of New York than there are in Jackson Hole. It's numbers. There's 55,000 people that live in North Lake Tahoe. What, 8.5 million people that live in New York? The odds that there's more skiers in New York than Tahoe is just there. The difference is that when I worked at other magazines, the way we would talk to people from Manhattan is we'd be like, oh, you're from Manhattan? Cool. Here's the top 5 hot tubs in Aspen. And I was like, it's so condescending. It really is. And that is how the outdoor industry has always talked to people. In our latest issue, we have a story about Jerome Peele, the City Bike Boys, who fixes up old city bikes and jumps them around Manhattan, like mountain bike style. He's kind of I guess you can't really be a classically trained mountain bike guy, but he's doing this. And what I like is that I think we just have more in common. And I don't think it's what makes you a person that loves the mountains, that likes horses or anything like that, is not your proximity to them, it's your passion for it. And I think for the longest time, the outdoor industry has done a really bad job. I mean, for example, the North Face, God bless them, they have a North Face City, as if you guys don't need a Nuptse jacket that's worn on Everest on a cold day in Brooklyn. I mean, it's freezing there. So I think for us, as far as metrics, our top areas are Northern California, San Francisco, Bay Area, just our proximity to Tahoe. New York is there. DC metro area is actually one of our top 5, so thank you very much for coming. But we are actually very popular in places where people can't walk out their front door and head to a chairlift. And I think it's why we have such a diversity of sport. One of our most popular stories we did was on disc golf, because I think it's we're growing a lot in the Southeast and in Texas. And we just don't discriminate on where you live. It's like I said earlier, I think even if you don't live in the mountains, they can live in you. So thank you for reading. I appreciate it. Anyone else? Cool.
First of all, thank you for being here. Subscribers to the magazine. You guys are amazing. Thanks, appreciate it. My question is about the stories that you guys choose, because you had alluded to it. I mean, you give your writers incredible autonomy to find these projects. The story Ari did was fantastic. I think about, you guys did one about surfers in Lake Tahoe and the storms. You did like the fire jumpers. Like, how do you guys choose your projects? Because again, it's only 2 issues a year, so there's limited space. So would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, so my 7-year-old, my 3-year-old helped me pick the animal photos. And then they never look at the magazine again. We get 6,000 submissions a year. And in those submissions, there's 3 to 4 stories. We have a committee, really, and this is not like a sexy way of doing things, it's a practical way of doing things. Like, we put them into a spreadsheet and we look at sports, region, topic, writer. I run the payroll for all of our freelancers to make sure, and what I always find is that like each issue, we're about 60% new writers every single issue, new voices. And one thing that I do feel really honored, like being here in the Library of Congress, is that I believe that Ari Schneider deserves to have a place next to Hunter S. Thompson. I believe Hans Ludwig is a great satirical writer in the same way Hunter could be, in the same way Edward Abbey could be. And so I like that there's this canon of outdoor writers. Freelancing is super hard, and it's a tough life. I lived it for a very long time. I've been writing about skiing since I was 17 years old. I'm 40 years old. This is the only thing I'm good at. So if you guys don't subscribe, I have no idea what I'm going to do. But I want people with passion. I never want someone to be like, well, here's my next Mountain Gazette story. Like, I want someone to just they have to scream it from the top of a mountain, and we put it in the magazine. And I think that may be why you enjoy some of the stories. What's very cool is that our writers are using Mountain Gazette as a platform. A lot of publications have exclusivity with their writers, and we don't want that. I want the New Yorker to pay Ari more money than we do. I think that's how you create a healthy ecosystem for journalism, is you compete for the best people. My father-in-law will love this, but I want to be George Steinbrenner of the 90s and just hire the best players. He's nodding. I'm a Mets fan, so he really likes that. So, any more questions? Thank you for your question. Thanks for subscribing. Yeah, sure. Right here.
What's a story that you're still chasing?
Oh, man. In the 60s, there was a ski racer named Jean-Claude Keely. He's still alive, French skier. And there was a guy from Tahoe, Spider Savage, K2. He's murdered by Claudien Lauger. And for a very long time, on the pro ski dual downhill circuit, it was Spider against Jean-Claude Keely. When I was 23 years old, I reached out to 2 offices. One was Jean-Claude Keely's office. He's a model. He's in his 80s now. And the public affairs office of the Kremlin, because Jean-Claude Keely is Vladimir Putin's personal ski instructor. My mom almost fainted just telling her that. So for everything Putin has done with Ukraine, with his own citizens, Jean-Claude Keely has really fiercely and publicly defended him, which is a very French skier thing to do. But I feel like that's a story that's never been told because it's really hard, and those are my favorite stories to tell. Seth Morrison, we tried to chase him down. He's very elusive. We did what's called a write-around profile, where we literally talked to his wife. He was so pissed, he blocked me. I texted him, and he said, never call me again. But I think the thing is, we did a really good job in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, in ski magazines in particular, creating heroes. And I think we've never really done a good job of showing who they really are. I'm fortunate enough to live in Tahoe, where there are a lot of pro athletes, and they are. Cody Jensen changes diapers the same way I did. You know what I mean? It's just they're all people, and I think what we're always trying to chase is to humanize these people that do incredible things, because if they're relatable, then you're related to that same species. Except ultra runners, that's a different group of people. So, any more questions? Yeah, right there.
Thank you. My name is Marco. Two things. One, I agree with you that Aspen Extreme is the best ski movie ever made. And two is,
Thanks.
what has been the hardest part about running this as a business and also something you're so passionate about?
It's my entire life. It's my family's entire life. My kids play for the Mountain Gazette Mets. My wife's our vice president. It's our entire life. One thing that's been really, really cool that I like is in the last 2 years, I've started getting recognized both from the ads and from people like yourself who read the magazine or listen to me on the Blister podcast or something. And my oldest son is like, "Dad, are you famous?" And I'm like, "I am not famous. It's just people who ski know who I am a little bit." I think the hardest part is when a magazine dies, people tag me on Instagram. Like I can bring it back. That is really, like when Playboy is back again, but like when Playboy went down a couple years ago, people were tagging me. I don't think that's very easy. I don't have all the answers, and I think that's how we've been successful, is I keep seeking them, and that's not like wonderful business advice. I would love to be like, it's a bank loan, like, and you just do this and blah, blah, blah. Like, I care, and caring comes in many ways, and like, you can talk to our CFO, like, we donate between $12,000 and $15,000 a year in small increments to GoFundMes from our readers, of just like, one of our readers has cancer, or they got in an accident, or whatever, and like, I think that's caring about your readers too, in like a really funny way, and that's like not in any business plan, dude. I'm a literature major from SUNY Potsdam. Like, I don't have a business degree. I'll give credit to my dad. My dad's here. My dad runs a mobile home park, and he's always run it with a lot of dignity for the people who live there. That just because you're low income doesn't mean you're less than. And so I think that that's what we've done with our readers, is like, thank you for signing up. You're valuable. Thanks for being here. How can we help you? I think service is like a lost thing, you know, that I get a lot from my wife. She teaches me a lot about that coming from hotels. So it's all hard, but it's a lot of fun. So I like it. Yeah, right here.
Thank you. As a not yet subscriber, I have to say that you are a fantastic salesman. Your passion is really, no, it's incredible to listen to, and despite the fact that you're a Mets fan, we'll let that go.
Wait, are you a Nationals fan? Or DC? Or?
Yankees. Sorry,
Oh,
New Yorker. Born and bred New Yorker.
Cool.
So, the question I have is, since you are print only, some of the things you've talked about, like, I also diehard Grateful Dead fan, would love to read Chloe Weir's article, but like, where you can't just click online and go like, give me the last issue of Mountain Gazette. So where do you find some of the back issues to start getting into it and then maybe be a subscriber?
So I only print as many magazines as I need, and then we add about 10 to 15% onto that number, just so we can sell some through. So this is not a sales pitch that is available on our website right now, but you can also read it in the next room. And check out some of the photos. I recommend the photo of Bobby and his widow Natasha backstage at the Sphere, where he's smiling. Like, you could just tell he's like really happy. I know, right? It's like not how you.
No, never.
But only a daughter can shoot her father that way, I think. I have been told a few times that I'm a good salesman. Like I said, this is the only thing I can do. And I really like doing this. And the proof's in the pudding. I mean, look at how many people we got to the Library of Congress today. I was told this is one of the least visited institutions here in DC, which blows my mind because it's so incredible. Also, I thought it was cool the Gutenberg Bible is also 11 by 17 like our magazine. It's the right format, I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, it really is all about passion, though. In my previous career, I had people coming to me all the time asking for money, and you can just tell the people that are, doing it as just a business or something, and the people who are really invested and love it, and it just, it's night and day, and you definitely project that. So
Thank you. Before another question, guys, can you guys all please give a round of applause to the Library of Congress for inviting me to be here? Thank you so much, guys. It really means a lot to me. If you ever wanted to complain about where your tax dollars go, God, they let me talk here. We got one more question over there, Patrick, but yeah.
Hi, unique twist. So I'm a print graphic designer, and so I'm thinking about sort of the technical build, of doing a magazine at that size, at that spec. So how big is your core team that puts together this magazine?
So our entire team will be at the National Magazine Awards, all 4 of us.
4, nice.
Yeah. We print in Missouri, which is rad. We print with Walsworth. We're American made, We're really proud of that. Our color specialists have a place in New York and in London. We're printed CMYK. We convert everything over. It's sheet fed.
I was gonna say, it has to be.
It has to be.
Yeah.
Our color specialists say blue is the hardest color to print. Bluebird days outside. We're sort of a nightmare. Snow has a little bit of blue in it, depending on how it's shot. My art director is a kid I played Little League Baseball with.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's a good friend of mine. My parents go and see him play live music in Glens Falls. Our copy editor is, her name's Kim Stravers. She was my copy editor at Powder. Every book project I've ever worked on, I just trust her. She fights, and I like that. I love people that don't agree with me. That's how things get better. I didn't want yes people. And then I'll tell a little story quickly about our managing editor, Doug, who actually called me to tell me it was for sale. So Doug did maybe the dirtiest thing you could ever do to someone is we needed help. We needed a managing editor. It was too much for 3 of us. We had to go from a tripod to a table. It would be more stable. And so I asked Doug to come, and 3 weeks after I hired Doug, he told me he had cancer. Which is terrible, and also terrible because if he sucked at his job, you cannot fire him without looking at cancer. Doug's cancer is under control, and he's doing well, but he asked me if I would tell that story here, and I didn't think I was going to. I don't like using the phrase, my family's here, I don't like using the phrase, we're a family, but we all are very close with each other, and we hold each other accountable in unique ways through, postpartum depression, waking up to change diapers, getting older, perimenopause, divorce, cancer. We have gone through a lot of it together. Our sales guy got surprised at his wedding. Someone used one of our magazines as the book when they were officiating, which I was like, oh, we can't let him go now either. At a time when you don't want your job to be your identity, all of us really make Mountain Gazette our identity, and every issue has to be better than the last, which is people in Missouri do a really good job. And we asked them to do something impossible. We print almost 50,000 copies of Mountain Gazette every 6 months, and they print 60% or 70% of America's yearbooks too. And road atlases, and the Farmer's Almanac before it left. They print really good things. So when we brought that to them, they actually just won a regional print award with Mountain Gazette for the quality of their build. And we were really proud of that. And there's people from Missouri are sweet. They asked if I wanted the statue sent to California. I was like, you guys are in this. You made it. And they make it. We put it together, but they actually make it. It's really important to me that we keep printing in Missouri, especially when you could print in London or in China where they're more apt for that. But yeah, it's a lot of fun.